The neural lace anchor behind my left ear pulsed with single blue spark, another order command. My tray vibrated faintly as I balanced 3 bowls of nebulous stew, steam curling like sentient fog in the low-gravity air. The smell, salty metal and tangy comet spice, filled the crowded tiers of Ember Street Café, one of the few neutral space diners on Elystra 9, where Atherians and humans could tolerate each other over lunch. "Table 12 wants their meat solar-seared," shouted Mixon from behind the counter, his mechanical eye rotating like a search beacon. "And don't do what you did yesterday. It's Atherian rare, not human rare." "Yes, boss." That meant almost raw, still glowing faintly from cosmic radiation, a delicacy for creatures whose internal fires ran hotter than ours ever could. I weaved across the layered floors, my gravity assist boots recalibrating every few steps to counter the moon's uneven pull. Rain hissed against the cafe's dome, streaking down the translucent panels in iridescent rivers. Outside, the streets of New Haven sector blur with movement. Traders, mercenaries, teachers, hybrid children. Inside, heat and chatter mingle with holographic music that thumped faintly against my ribs. Another ping lit my wrist display, Mom's medication reminder. I closed the holo as my chest tightened. 2 more hours until I could get home. 2 hours of pretending that our lives weren't one unpaid medical bill away from collapse. That's when the door chimed. The air changed. It always does before a story begins. The sound was subtler than thunder, but heavier than silence. 2 figures entered. The first was unmistakably Atherian, even in humanoid glamour. Tall, elegant, movements so fluid the gravity seemed to obey him. Silver-black hair streaked, like molten quartz caught the cafe lighting. Beneath that illusion, I sensed the burn of scales, a restrained inferno. In his arms nestled a hatchling, maybe half a meter long. The child's violet scales shimmered under the dim lighting, but the beauty ended at his wings. Bent at odd angles, webbing torn, legs trembling against the weight of his own body. His tiny breath rattled. They took a booth, struggling to adjust a support cradle clearly meant for larger, healthier dragons. The father's expression stayed composed until a strap tangled. A flicker of pain crossed his features, heartbreak polished by dignity. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed one of our smaller anti-gravity stabilizers from storage and knelt beside their table. "Here," I said, adjusting the harness's field controls until it supported the hatchling without pressing on his joints. "This one calibrates faster. It'll stop the wing tremor." The man blinked at me like I'd spoken an ancient tongue. "You know how to operate this equipment?" "I read manuals when it's slow," I said, "and we get all kinds in here." He inclined his head. "Thank you, human." "You're welcome, sir." "What's his name?" The hatchling's large blue eyes flicked open. He chirped, a tiny electric sound. "This is Kael," the man said quietly. "Well, hello, Kael," I whispered. "That's a name destined for legends." Kael chirped again, clearly approving. The father, who the net later told me was Lord Arion Valis, Imperial Governor of 7 star systems, merely watched me, wary yet curious, as I adjusted the harness with one hand and wiped the smear of stew off my apron with the other. Somewhere along the way, I stopped thinking of him as royalty and started seeing him as a father trying not to break. The valises returned 2 days later. Then again, then every 3rd day like clockwork. Kael's progress fascinated me. His mind learned language faster than his body learned movement. His wings would twitch whenever I told stories, mostly half-remembered Earth folk tales my mother used to tell during blackout nights of the war. "Again," Kael demanded, his soft voice a miracle. "Tell about the knight and the dragon who become friends." "So, Sir Orion climbed a mountain, sword shining, and found the dragon lonely." Kael giggled, already correcting me. Arion would watch silently, golden eyes unreadable. I sensed gratitude buried under caution, as though each smile risked an empire. Through fragments of conversation, I learned truths his court never spoke aloud. His mate had been assassinated 2 cycles ago. Poison seeped into her egg clutch before hatching. Kael alone survived. I also let slip pieces of me. Mira Solis, I'd said during one slow afternoon when the rain muted even the holograms. Was supposed to be a nurse, not a waitress. But you can't pay tuition when your mother needs oxygen therapy. Your mother survived the war? Survived everything but its aftermath. He nodded once, like soldiers share invisible scars. Then one evening, after I closed the café, my comm implant flared. Help needed. Coordinates attached. It was Arion's encryption signature. I didn't think. I ran. The coordinates led me to a medical bay beneath the Atherian embassy. Kael lay pale beneath layered diagnostics. Arion's dragon form, vast, gold fire under living armor, coiled protectively around the bed. The sight froze me in primal awe and fear. His temperature won't stabilize. Arion's voice thundered inside my head, telepathic and raw. The doctors want to stop treatment, but it's our only chance. I scanned the vitals and felt my heart drop. You're overheat cycling him. He's drowning in his own thermal energy. You need to cool him now. You don't tell a dragon to breathe frost over his child. One doctor hissed. I just did, I answered. Arion's eyes widened. Then he exhaled, the softest hurricane of ice I'd ever seen. The room hushed as neon ice crystals swirled over Kael's body, shimmering like auroras. Slowly, the readings leveled. The hatchling relaxed with a tiny sigh. When Kael opened bleary eyes, the first thing he murmured was, Miss Mira, did Sir Orion save the dragon? Every time, little star, I said softly. Every time. Arion bowed his massive head, voice trembling. You save him. No, I said. You did. I just told you where to aim. A week later, Lord Arion Valis walked into Ember Street Café, not as a monarch, but as a man carrying something delicate. Hope. I have a proposition, he said without flourish. Be Kael's caregiver. Full time. I froze with a towel in my hands. You can't be serious. I'm not qualified. You are the only one who noticed his overheating pattern. You saw him, Mira, not a symbol, not an heir, a child. He offered more than a job. Training, resources, payment for mom's treatments, and enrollment in an accredited medical program. It sounded like salvation disguised as madness. 2 nights of restless indecision later, Mom, ever sharper than I, ended it. You've never been able to walk away from someone broken, she said between breaths. Go where you're needed. So I did. The Valis residence was an ivory fortress hung between 2 cliffs, glowing with shield light. The corridor smelled of ozone and starlight oil. The servants bowed out of duty, not respect. A human in the heart of Atherian nobility was unheard of, but when Kael saw me, squealing, Miss Mira, barriers cracked. He tried fluttering his good wing, just to show me he could. My days filled with therapy sessions turned into games. Push against my hand, little star. Yes, that's 1 more millimeter of strength. Arion, stepping in quietly one day, murmured, He smiles more since you arrived. I smiled back. You, too. Evenings often found us in a library while Kael slept, discussing everything from medical ethics to music. I learned the Atherian concept of Orion, meaning honor through empathy. He learned the human habit of drinking coffee at obscene hours. Peace never lasts in stories that matter. 3 weeks after my arrival, the Atherian Council came. 5 dragons in ceremonial armor confronted Arion in his throne room. Their leader, Skorath Flamecrest, glared at me like one might have weapon misplaced. You allow a human to handle the imperial heir? I allow the one who keeps him alive, Arion said coolly. Your vetted healers nearly killed him. This is political suicide. Then bury me in the same grave, he thundered. Before the argument could spark into violence, a small voice broke through. Leave my Miss Mira alone. Kael floated awkwardly in his harness, glaring up at the council. His courage filled the room with light. Sometimes truth doesn't roar. It chirps from a child's throat. 2 months later, I caught the poison. A glittering residue clung to the nutrient gel meant for Kael. My scanner beeped its warning note, a sound that saved my life more than once. If he had eaten it, he'd be gone in minutes. When Arion found out, his fury became legend. He tore through the estate in his true form, gold fire spilling across the sky. Guards crouched. Servants fled. Only Kael's tiny voice, "Father, please," and my firm hand on his snout stopped him. He shrank back into humanoid form, breath ragged. They were right. Loving humans makes me weak. "No," I said, "it makes you dangerous to the ones who still hate." He wanted to hide us, ship us to a secure research outpost. You and Kael will be beyond their reach. Beyond your reach, too, I reminded him. That's not protection. That's loss with extra steps. He stared for a long beat, trembling not with anger but fear. Then, unexpectedly, he pulled me close. His skin radiated faint, comforting heat. "I can't lose you," he whispered. "Then don't," I whispered back. Life slipped back into rhythm. Kael begged to attend school, to meet other hatchlings. Against every instinct, we let him. The first day ended in tears. Another hatchling taunted him, calling him Broken Claws. The second day, I arrived early and arranged a race to the Academy's atrium. Kael in his mobility harness, the bully with perfect wings. Halfway through, the bully tried to flourish and crashed into a hollow display. Kael kept going, determination outshining grace. When he crossed the line, laughing, the gathered hatchlings cheered. Later, Arion teased, "You planned that accident." "Never," I said, eyes wide with mock innocence. Pure coincidence that the wind simulation increased at that exact moment. You're incorrigible. I prefer resourcefully tactical. Laughter healed more than any therapy. But the council wasn't finished. They summoned me, Mira Solis human, into the great chamber where 12 dragons rotated in majestic orbit above me. The air shimmered with heat and authority. "You stand accused of manipulating the imperial family," Skorath growled. I looked up, heart-hammering. "I stand guilty only of caring. If that's a crime, you might want to arrest your own gods." Bold words from fragile flesh. "I'm not fragile. I'm determined. There's a difference." Then an elder dragon stepped forward, ancient as orbit dust, silver scales bright as dying stars. "Enough," she said. "The child thrives. The governor remembers joy. Let the human remain." Grandmother Valis, Arion's matriarch, had spoken. The matter was done. That night, Arion found me in the gardens, twilight casting molten reflections across his scales. "You defied them all," he said softly. "I just told the truth." He hesitated, then, "I love you, Mira Solis." The stars tilted. "It's about time." I managed. Years have a way of folding when you live among immortals. 5 years later, Kael stood before the Atherian Council again, this time by invitation. He was 12 standard cycles old, still using his mobility harness, still irrepressible. "I propose integration academies," he declared clearly, "where Atherian and human children learn together. Because ignorance is just fear wearing fancy armor." Even the cynics applauded. The vote for unity passed unanimously. By then, Mom was thriving in a new apartment with proper air filters, and Arion and I were married under twin moons. Humans and Atherians witnessing the first sanctioned interspecies union in recorded history. It wasn't fairy dust. It was hard work and stubborn grace. 6 months after the wedding, Kael managed his first full transformation. 1 breath later, he stood in front of me on shaky humanoid legs. "Look, Mom, I did it." "You did?" I whispered, tears blurring the edges of my vision. "You're perfect." Now, 5 more years beyond that day, I find myself watching him and his little sister, a child of both worlds, playing under Elystra's double suns. Her scales shimmer like dawn. His mechanical wings were faintly in rhythm with her laughter. Somewhere inside every battle, every risk suddenly feels worth it. Arion wraps his arm around me, warmth seeping through his ceremonial suit. "Do you ever regret it?" he asks. "That day at the café?" I grin. "Only that I didn't charge you extra for the stabilizer rental." He laughs. "The same sound that once terrified galaxies and now belongs wholly to peace. The universe knew what it was doing when it sent you to take our order. Maybe, I say, or maybe we just decided kindness was worth betting on." Kael calls from across the courtyard. "Mom!" Tell the story about Sir Orion again, but this time make the dragon win. Always, I say, gathering them close. This one's about a human and a dragon who save each other, one brave heart at a time. Outside, twin suns dip below Elystra's horizon, their fading light catching on Arion's scales, Kael's wings, and our daughter's sleeping face. The universe still hums with tension, not perfection. But here, in this fragile, miraculous moment among stars, I know we may never live ever after, but we are living happily right now.